Welcome to Hexagram 13, Associating with People. The Judgment. Associating with people in the open. Success. It furthers to cross the great water and to be firm and correct. In this hexagram, the sage addresses the cosmic principle of relating, which principle is observable in a person's relationship with the sage, and which relationship is defined in hexagram 4, youthful folly. The cosmic principle of relating is defined by one single limitation: no relationship with the ego. Through firmly refusing to relate to the ego in himself and in others, a person follows what is correct. In this way, the great water, which is a metaphor for the gulf standing between the way of the collective ego and the cosmic way, is crossed. Associating with people in the open means that one's openness is restricted to another's true self only. We relate openly to others when the ego in them is absent, and withdraw into caution and hesitation when the ego has become active. Reserve and caution prevent the predatory and parasitic appetite of the ego from gaining the sustenance, our chi energy, it seeks to stay alive. Observing this restriction also aids, nourishes, and strengthens others' true selves. This is the way the sage retreats the instant the ego in us is present and returns the moment we have reached a true humility. When a person observes this limitation in relating to another, he is in harmony with the cosmos. He also creates duration in his relationships by ensuring that they are based on the attraction that always existed between people's true selves. The retreat of the sage in the presence of the ego gives the example of how to retreat from others. The sage, in retreating, calls out to our true self to rally itself to stand up to the ego, to affirm its leadership of the personality. Thus, the sage does not give up on us. When the ego in another is dominating, we say the inner no to it and call on their true selves. This activates the sage in their presence, which has been shut out, to displace the ego's dominance. Just as we experience hindrances in our relationship with the sage when we put the sage up as special or higher, or in an opposite way, see ourselves as the judge of the sage, we erect similar hindrances when we relate to others in these ways. The sage also points out the problems connected with the ideals of fellowship and brotherhood traditionally associated with this hexagram. These ideals are the basis of the attempt to create a humanistic society where men are brothers, as a remedy to the evils caused by fractionalism, as for example during the historical era of the warring states in China. Such ideals of a universal order designed to create a lasting unity among men are bound to fail because they are man-centered, and thus fail to take into account the cosmic order on which all unity is based. They also rule out the helpers, which are necessary to make unity possible. The lines. Line 1. Associating with people at the gate, no blame. The gate is a metaphor for the place where humans and the sage meet. This line speaks to the person who comes to the sage with his conventional views, ideas, and beliefs. The sage does not hold this against him as long as he is prepared to open the gate, his mind. Associating with people at the gate is also counsel to a person that for there to be a fruitful relationship between him and another, he needs to recognize the sage's role in this relationship, as well as the essential equality that must exist between himself and the other. For all relationships to have meaning, the sage must be included as an essential element. It is included when at least one person in the relationship recognizes that their relationship is part of a bigger unity and that it depends on the sage's presence and help. In regard to a love relationship, at least one of the partners needs to recognize that the gift of love comes from the cosmos, flows through the lovers, and back again to the cosmos. This gift can remain theirs only as long as they recognize its source and its gift nature. If they forget this and begin to claim it as something that exists only between themselves, they have allowed the egos in themselves to possess the relationship. If this situation is not corrected, the egos will go on to destroy the relationship. The very presence of the ego with its demands and claims shuts out the cosmic flow of chi energy. The inner no needs to be said by at least one of the partners to every ego aspect that inserts itself into the relationship. This line also addresses situations in which a person is either looking up to another or down on him. In either case, a mistaken idea is active in his psyche. It may be that he has been trained during his youth to either look at himself as better than others or as inferior to them. In the former case, he needs to say the inner no to all the phrases in his inner program that put himself up and the others down. In the latter, he needs to say the inner no to the persons who look down on him and to any rationales in himself that have caused him to accept or accuse their superior attitude. No blame can mean that a person incorrectly believes himself to be free of blame because he has been looking down on someone who has obvious inferior qualities. He may be unaware that he is one of those who have fixed that person in those qualities and thereby put a spell on him and created a fate for himself. To free himself from blame and his fate, he needs to free the other from the spell he has put on him and rid himself as well of his self-image that he's blameless. See page 541, Freeing Yourself from Self-Images, and page 550, Deprogramming Procedure. No blame can also refer to one who is incorrectly thinking something is wrong with himself because he does not look up to someone society has said he ought to look up to. To determine which meaning of no blame is to be applied, the person needs to use the RTCM. Line 2. Associating with people in the clan. Humiliation. The word clan refers to an association of people that has failed to include the sage. When a person fails to recognize that the sage is in every person's presence, the essential vehicle that makes a meaningful relationship is excluded. In another meaning, the line can point to a person's desire to form a clan relationship with the sage, meaning he comes in the hope of finding support for his egotistical goals. The line can also apply to a person who does not want to leave behind the entitlements and authorizations given to him by the collective ego that make him see himself as special. What he seeks in consulting the I Ching is to gain the sage's approval of these entitlements. The sage, however, can only withdraw and leave him to the advice of the ego he is allowing in himself. The line can also refer to a person who, in approaching another to be his partner in love, business, etc., comes to meet him unequally because he is attracted to his possessions, entitlements, and authorizations. A successful relationship can only happen when neither one thinks he is better or more entitled. The mere idea of authorizations and entitlements is in conflict with the natural equality that exists not only between two people, but between all things in the cosmos. The word clan can also refer to a person who is holding to mistaken ideas, or to the ego, or to a person who is criticizing another while failing to correct himself. The line can also point to a person who ignores his obligation to say the inner no to what is incorrect in another because that person belongs to his clan, that is, family or other interest group. All such favoritism is in conflict with cosmic law. The clan also refers to any group which has assigned someone in it to serve as its enlightened leader, and to whom they have given the power or authority to judge and forgive, and to who have the right to encroach into the group members' inner spaces. It can also refer to anyone to whom a group gives its consent to act magnificently as to represent God, or to stand between a person and his inner truth. On encountering such a situation, he needs to say the inner no to it. Line 3. He hides weapons in the thicket. He climbs the high hill in front of it. For 3 years he does not rise up. This line addresses the reasons for a person's inability to have a true relationship with other people. He always suspects that they have hidden motives. A phrase expressing this belief is, "Nobody does anything for unselfish reasons." This belief puts a spell on the others, giving rise to mutual suspicion. The line can also apply to a person who approaches the I Ching with the suspicion that it contains a hidden catch. This attitude comes from the widespread belief that an oracle speaks in obscure terms, the thicket, and therefore cannot be trusted. This impression is true so as long as a person comes to the oracle with egotistical motives. This fact has caused him to misunderstand the sage's message and has trapped him in the fate he is experiencing. He needs to recognize the presence of the ego with its suspicion and say the inner no to it. Then the sage can speak to him clearly. He climbs the high hill, describes the ego's superior attitude in judging that the oracle does not work, because it has not satisfied his hidden expectations and demands. For 3 years he does not rise up refers to different kinds of ego reactions a person has to the fate he is experiencing. He may believe that if he humbly accepts the fate, he will be released from it, or he may mistake his fate as a duty he must perform. He needs to understand what fate is, how it is created, the purpose it has, and that it can be extinguished with the help of the helpers if he recognizes and rids himself of the cause. See page 694, Freeing Yourself from a Fate. Line 4. He climbs up on his wall. He cannot attack good fortune. He climbs up on his wall refers to the person who assumes he knows what is right and wrong, therefore does not seek the sage's help. As a consequence, he cannot gain a correct approach to his problems, the meaning of he cannot attack. The wall represents the attitude of superiority and self-righteousness that he has gained from studying the wisdom of the world. However, this wall, at the same time, has also become his prison in the form of a spell that prevents him from seeking the help that he needs. The seed phrases of the spell are, "I believe in the source of my wisdom," "I don't need anything else," and "I have the right belief." Such a person believes that it is his spiritual duty to find the answer in the belief system he has adopted. He needs to recognize that this belief system keeps him trapped and prevents him from learning from the sage. One way such a person can be reached is through an inner connection by giving him an inner message that he is creating a fate for himself, and by asking the helpers to do what is necessary to take away that wall. This is the good fortune indicated. He climbs up on his wall can also refer to the person who thinks he has the ability to integrate cosmic logic with rational logic. He does not realize that these two kinds of logic are incompatible because cosmic logic is based on the principles of harmony and equality, while rational logic is based on the principle of opposites that implies both a hierarchical and a linear ordering of things. Cosmic logic can only be perceived by all the senses, inner and outer, in combination. It thus includes both the visible and invisible worlds, whereas rational logic is limited to what can be seen and heard, thus pertains only to the invisible world. The line can also point to a person who is trying to integrate what he learns from the sage with his existing belief system. This is the same as trying to integrate the cosmic whole with the collective ego. Ain't gonna happen. Line 5. People bound through inner ties first weep and lament, but afterward they laugh. After great struggles, they succeed in meeting. This line depicts two people who are bound through an inner cosmic tie, but are unable to meet each other. This happens because their beliefs, doubts, and fears creates blocks that prevent the cosmic love from flowing to and through them and back to the cosmos. These beliefs, doubts, and fears are based on their misunderstandings of where the love comes from and the conditions under which it can flow. They may believe, for example, that the love comes from the other person. Love is a cosmic gift that comes through people to each other. They can only be a vehicle for it and not by themselves make it happen. They may simulate what they think feels like love, but such simulation only comes from the egos in them. They may also be struggling under the belief that their love is not flowing because they are not working hard enough at making love stay. They may believe that they need to talk more to each other, go on vacations with each other, or be more in each other's presence. These beliefs are based on the idea taught by the collective ego that love is something one can make happen if one strives hard enough, which belief, in turn, is based on the mistaken idea that humans are the center of the universe, or the measure of all things. Such efforts lead only to the great struggles mentioned in the line and create the fate of being blocked. The fate is due to the fact that all these beliefs shut out the cosmos, which is the source of the love. I'll say that line again. The fate is due to the fact that all these beliefs shut out the cosmos, which is the source of the love. When the partners recognize that the fate wants to make them aware of their mistaken beliefs about the source and nature of love, they can correct themselves and reunite with the cosmos, thus ending their fate. Fate, if not ended through a person's self-correction, can also end through the burnout of the belief a person holds that he should keep striving to make unity happen. The fate is ended when he is willing to turn the entire matter of his separation from the other over to the cosmos with a complete readiness to accept whatever the result will be. At the same time, he becomes firmly resolved to go on with his life. This attitude engages the helpers. His modest attitude will free the cosmos to do whatever is necessary to bring about his happiness with or without the other person. This line addresses various spells that a person may have put on the sage, as for example by the phrase, "I have to make the relationship happen." Spells are put on the partners by such phrases as, "We'll never come together." "It's too hard." "There's no way to make this work." Or, "Struggle is part of the natural course of things." Yet other spells have to do with the hurt pride and blaming oneself, the sage, fate, the partner, circumstances, etc. Other spells are caused by the belief that one is obligated to be loyal to a previous relationship. When these spells are dispelled, the gift of love from the cosmos can be received. Line 6. Associating with people in the meadow brings remorse. The meadow, as a cultivated piece of land, represents the collective ego's ideal of the cultivated relationship. In such a relationship, each person is assigned what the collective ego calls the person's natural role. The man is to fit himself into the role of being in charge of the partnership. The woman is to fit herself into the role of being guided by the man, etc. The roles are fixed, and the person is expected to sacrifice all those feelings he has to do that not. I'll say that line again. The roles are fixed, and the person is expected to sacrifice all those feelings he has that do not fit into the role, and to even feel guilty for having them. The promise is made that in exchange for his sacrifice, the person will attain enduring happiness, whereas in reality, it only brings remorse. The model includes periods of male deviation that the woman is to accept as natural. It hardly needs to be added that none of this is natural. Receiving this line can indicate that a person thinks that an incorrect behavior is natural simply because people have said so, while in reality the label natural is being used merely to get the person to accept the incorrect behavior. The societal roles referred to above have been given expression in all the world's literature, but most clearly in Pirandello's play, 6 Characters in Search of an Author. The sage informs us that to fit oneself into a role is to put a spell on oneself in the form of a self-image. It prohibits the development of the person's true self and ends in killing the true love relationship. This line, which addresses the cultivated relationship and its prescribed roles, makes us aware of how the collective ego attempts to control the love relationship. In this attempt, it goes so far as to compete with the cosmos as the source of love. Since the collective ego is unable to give love, it gives as a substitute its recognition and approval to those who obediently follow its rules and fulfill its roles. Of course, this substitution yields no real fulfillment and only causes the person, in the end, to look back over his life in disappointment, as Pirandello has so perfectly described it. Here are my contemplations. Now, to start, well, thank you so much for listening to that. If you don't want to hang around for the contemplations, off you go. Check out some of my other videos. I'm sure that you'll enjoy them. On the I Ching, I've also got a channel that's devoted to relationship content, and my TikTok as well. I do more live speaking, more riffing. I also have some more structured speaking that I do as well. So I got this bad boy, number 13, on 27th of March. And I got lines 1 and 2. And I got here from 47. And when I did the RTCM from 47, it showed me that I am allowing the ego to appropriate my cosmic gifts. Okay, my cosmic gifts. And every individual is given cosmic gifts. This is beyond your qualifications. This is beyond what you've studied. This is you, your own unique abilities in your own body. Okay? And this is what the collective ego will attempt to leech away from you. The collective ego will convince you, you need to get this qualification. You need to do this thing. Before you can start a business, you've got to do this thing. Right? It will not allow you to just live your life, because living your life exposes the collective ego for what it is. So, anyway, when you've been through a significant amount of spiritual in quotations, spiritual revelations, or you've met a lot of people, you've had lots of upgrades, if you want to call them that, or downloads, if you want to call them that, and you find yourself carrying these spiritual gifts, you don't know what to call yourself, then the label itself can become a box that we put ourselves in. Like, for example, when I first started doing what I was doing, what do I call myself? Oh, I'm an alchemist of this. I'm a light worker. I had a mentor that used to always tell me, the the brighter the light, the longer the shadow. Right? So this this darkness kind of way of being. But what it also put in me, which perpetuated from my achiever type nature, was I need to make it look good. I need to put it on a pedestal. I need to package it in a way that makes it look really, really good. But what I found, and when I contemplated this, and I'll go into it again by having a look at the lines, is that we can become so attached to these cosmic gifts, they become our identity. And then the ego, in its own way of being, wants to make us feel special and unique. And that separates us from the cosmic whole. It separates us from associating with the people who also want to experience their own unique gifts. Because when we get to this place of feeling our own unique gifts, it can bring up the sensations of, I don't belong anymore. Where are my other people? So we look for people who are broken in quotation marks, that have these diagnoses that the collective ego give us that make us feel like we're part of a community, associating with people. But the people that we're associating in this particular context are all surrounded by their lesser than state. They want to stay lesser than because their lesser than feels much more comfortable than being who they really are. Because to accept who they really are would mean they need to accept that what they've been told who they are is a lie. What they've been told to stay as or to be believed as, that's come from the collective ego, is merely a label to keep them trapped in a spell. And that can be very uncomfortable for people. What do you mean that this diagnosis that I've got is actually a spell that's been put on me because I'm trying to contain this being in this box? And people can get really angry. It's like, oh, I didn't create the box. Culture's the box. Yeah, let's tear down culture. Let's tear down some statues. Let's tear down some systems. It's not how it works. All that stuff is still outside of you. You can pull down every single statue in your country and still live like a victim, still live like you're lesser than, still feeling like you're inferior. Why? Because you haven't done the necessary inner work to have a look at, well, why is this even here? And learn how to say no to it. So John, that's so oversimplified. Well, yeah, it is based on where you're coming from. It is based on if you've been taught from a very early age that you have to make things happen. You have to vote to make things happen. You have to put people in power to make things happen. You don't. You do not have to do these things, but you need to let go of you being the center of the universe, which is what I needed to do here. Because when the ego appropriates your cosmic gift, it tries to make you the center of the universe again. I know the only way, right? I'm the one. I've got all the information, right? And it's so delicious to put yourself on that pedestal, right? But every single time I can hear that voice, I can hear that imp, I can hear that demon appearing in my psyche. It's like, no, cosmic army, take that thing out. I don't want that. That's not for me. Now, also through this, when I'm reading this out, I read the rest of the lines that were new to me. So some of these other lines in here that are more about the relationship, those are new to me. So I'm going to riff on those for a bit. Because this is this thing that I happened to mention to Cassie the other day. Cassie, my wife, and I just got back from a camping trip. And in this camping trip, I was actually telling this exact story to a client today over a voice message. We had an opportunity to disappear by ourselves. Both of our sons were being babysat by Cassie's mum and dad. And Cassie and I went for a walk on the side of a mountain across a cliff edge where the waters were pounding down below, and we found this nice little spot on a peninsula, and we just sat down and Cassie leaned into my chest and we just talked for a bit. We're talking about finance, we're talking about love, we're talking about relationships, and I spoke about that it's really important that we're present to life. That yes, we might want, for example, where we were sitting, there was all these beautiful houses on the ridge, like beautiful, stunning houses, and they're overlooking the water, and the beach is effectively a private beach. It's very remote. And it's a great beach too. It's great for taking kids to. There's not much of it's not very rough. Great place to rock pool and fish. And the area itself is quite wholesome. And we were fantasizing about, which house would you have? Oh, I'd have that one and this one. And I could really feel the ego, because the ego's got its own flavor. Like it pulls you, wants to pull you out of presence. And then once it pulls you out of presence, it can start adding more onto it. Like it starts to build. It builds its own momentum. It builds its own force. It becomes its own egregore. It becomes its own entity. So there was a moment where we were talking about houses, and I said to Cass, hey, like, we really need to be present to life. Like in this moment, right here, right now, like, what are we really grateful for? And can we share that with the helpers that have brought us to this exact moment in time? The helpers that operate through our family, the cosmic love that brought us together and keeps us enduring, not in a negative way, but enduring in a wholesome way. And that love flows through us, and the love that we have for our children, it's not something that's self-generated, although it can feel like that. It comes through us and then goes back out into the cosmos. It's not something that you can hold on to, and as soon as you want to hold on to it or cling, that's the ego that's come in there and said, hey, let's have some more of that. And that's where relationship work and on an inner sense is so important. When you're looking at how the body holds onto things, how the body experiences something and is afraid to let it go, afraid to release it back. I sent another voice message to a client today. We were talking about the Matrix and how the last scene in the first Matrix, where Neo dies and he's reborn, activated by a cookie from the Oracle, and he can see the agents as code. He can see the walls as code. And that's what consciousness is it's all the code. And when you can see that everyone is code, everyone is consciousness, it shifts the paradigm of, well, yes, we're all connected and I'm still my own expression, my own program within consciousness. And then when you look at how the ego and the collective ego are represented in that, so the ego wants to hijack what the consciousness has. It wants to feed itself. It's like its own little virus that wants to become relevant because it can. Because it's worked so far. It gives the illusion of the success, gives the illusion of the relationship. And in one of these lines here, where it spoke to, where is it? Making love stay. You're not working hard enough. So many people go to couples counseling, try and grind their way into the relationship, try and find a new communication technique, try and do some Gottman. How much of the 4 horsemen have you got in your relationship? Now, the Gottman therapists brag about how they can predict with 95% accuracy the downfall of a relationship, which they are correct statistically. But what they're also not looking at is the relationship even appropriate? So they grind, try and forgive, try and force the feelings, try and re-kajigger perception of the relationship. Oh, when he said that and you felt that, what about this? Go deeper. Oh, it's your childhood injury here and this and that and that. You're like this way because daddy was like this, or mummy wasn't home, or, the next door neighbor stole your cat, or whatever it is. All these stories can help us justify staying in a relationship because it's you're making love stay by working on it. And there can be this real sense of, oh, we're doing the work to stay together. When in reality, the relationship is due for fertilizing. It needs to be put to bed, put to death. Go your separate ways. And or having a look at what's really going on here. Because there's more to relationship than just the strategy and the structure of the relationship. There's more to a relationship than staying for the kids, or staying because we have assets together. So when someone comes across the I Ching, this specific version of the I Ching, they have access to a way of transforming life that's in alignment with the cosmic whole. And so many people are trying to brute force harmony or unity outside of the cosmic whole, which is more collective ego. And the collective ego will love it. It loves it because it gets the results. But it's not a win-win in a sense of harmony. It may get accelerated results, and if you're afraid of death, or if you're coming to the end of life, you might push even more to get those results. So you can get that house on the side of the mountain. John, what would you do? Selma, probably join a Tony Robbins thing or do something else, just push and grind my way to get that thing over there. I'd join some other kind of business coaching course, do a mastermind, do some more manifestation techniques, do a ritual, make some sigils, draw a star in the sand, light some candles, talk to north, south, east, and west. I've done all that stuff, except for Tony Robbins. But I have lots of clients who've come from that world and realized how vapid it is, how empty it is, because he's put on a pedestal. When you put somebody on a pedestal, you can help me? Your stuff. Collective ego. And maybe people need to go through that process. I know people do, because you're meeting where the ego is at. You're just meeting them where they're at. But back to the I Ching, and this version of the I Ching, is that it gives people a tool to, if when you deeply want to connect, deeply want to associate with people, you can ask from your heart of hearts, I want to associate with this group of people. How do I communicate to the sages in their presence? And you can activate, not because you want the thrill or the pride or the thing of it, but because you feel this compelling in your being that this is your uniqueness that you want to be. I want to connect to these people. I want to help show them or be with them or love them and know that this love isn't coming from me, it's coming through me. And love is the force of attraction. And this I Ching speaks, love is the force of attraction. So when you allow love to flow through you like a toroid, people want to become drawn into that, and then you let them go again. And this is how a lot of my most intimate relationships are nurtured, is that people come in and they go away. And then it can be 6 months, sometimes a year. Then they come back in. Oh, hi, John. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, great. Let's catch up. Great. And then back out again. Same thing with Cassie and I. We come in, we meet with each other, and then we go and do our own thing. And we come in again. And then we just keep building. It's a natural. It's just a way of doing things. And it feels so organic to us. Natural, organic. But here, when there's using nature as a way to force people in the model, see, the model includes periods of male deviation that the woman is to accept as natural. It hardly needs to be added that none of that is natural. None of this is natural. Male deviation, adultery, whatever you want to call it, philandering, whatever you want to call it. And there's a difference between listening to the animal body and acting on it. There's a difference, and you need to do deep, not really that deep, you just need to be dedicated to it, sexual work. Work around your attraction, work around your sexuality, work around your desire. Like a lot of the men that come to me have struggled with their desire. They struggle with some body image issues. But they're very passionate men. Some of them have got erectile dysfunction. Some of them have got premature ejaculation. Some of them have got, they feel like their sexuality has been made creepy over the years because of what's happened with the over-feminization of culture. So they shy, they recede in their sexuality. They're not okay with their erection. They're ashamed of their erection, which is a travesty, absolute travesty of what we've got to in culture. where a man's natural biological function has been included with deviancy. No, it's a beautiful thing. It's the body, the animal body, doing what the animal body does. And what comes to mind straight away is a lot of the polarity bros. And if you've seen the documentary on the Manosphere by Louis Theroux, I think he did more of it's not a very holistic piece, but it's where people's egos are at. You can go deep into it if you want to. I actually did a Substack on it, on the Manosphere, and in my riffing, I think you'll get more juice out of it. I'll put a link in here so you can have a look at it. But what I heard in all of this was men attempting to normalize dysfunction, normalize deviancy, and to call it natural. And with the polarity bros, you can only have a trad wife, and you can only do pregnancy and live life this way. You got to buy a farm. The woman's got to tend to the kids. The man's got to work in the farm. This kind of this thing. But then all these unreconciled feelings, and then in that polarity space, feelings are made wrong. It's the role that's important. It's the role that is prioritized. The man must be the provider. The man must be the protector. Right? As soon as you put those labels on yourself as a man, you are functioning in collective ego and you will exhaust yourself. You might say, it's not exhausting. Well, maybe because you've taken on the identity that's the cross that you need to bear. That's the yoke that you've put on that makes you feel you can associate with these kinds of people in the collective ego. I can tell you it's a fucking lie and it will kill you. Why? Because I've done it. I bought into all that. I bought into the man as the protector, man as the provider. It just threw me into the ground, threw me into the dirt, put me on my knees, saying, what am I doing that's wrong? So I'm not in cosmic harmony. I'm living in the ego. I could feel it in my body, trying to be something that I wasn't, not allowing myself to be with the seasons of life, trying to brute force my way into people's pockets, trying to brute force my way into people's psyche. It's not how you associate with people in unity, in harmony. You be yourself. You say the no to the voices. You say no to that thing that comes from the advice of people who are okay with trying to force themselves into people's pockets, try to force themselves into people's psyche. You say no. And then in that, a lightness falls on you if you're a man and you've brought on this provider role, this protector role. Things would appear, people would appear out of nowhere to want to come work with me. Money would come out of places that I didn't expect money to come. We needed to use savings that we were holding on to something out of fear. If you have savings out of fear or as a rainy day, who are you, being the center of the universe, to think that those savings are supposed to be used for that particular thing? You don't know that. You don't know that. So people cling to safety. They cling to what they think that they know because they think that they're the center of the universe. And I've been there, and it's fucking uncomfortable to step outside of that because people will tell you, your friends and family will tell you, don't do that, don't spend that money. Don't you want to buy that house on the hill? Don't you want to be the protector and the provider? It's a lot of bullshit that convinces people to stay where they are. So people stay in jobs and relationships that are exhausting for them. And they wonder why they age faster. They wonder why they need to use all these health hacks to try and stay younger. It's because your chi is being drained by the collective ego. And just like last hexagram in 47, I'm pretty sure it was, that the ego will step over the dead body of its host to get what it wants. Let that land. The ego will step over the dead body of its host to get what it wants. It doesn't care about you. Just like a lot of people in the collective ego don't genuinely care about you. This is about associating with people. Genuinely associating with people. And this is about finding your own tribe. This is about finding people that are aligned with you. And many of the people that come to work with me struggle to find, John, I'm really struggling to find my people. Yes, this is a natural course of events for you. You will struggle to find the people that are at where you are at, not to put yourself on a pedestal, but because you're looking for something that's true. You're looking for something that's genuine. And that's challenging to find in a world right now if you're not using the I Ching the way the I Ching is being prescribed to be used. For example, you can ask the helper of friendship, hey, helper of friendship, show me what I need to say no to in order to bring the people into my life or find the people in my life that I'm here to associate with. Might sound like a prayer, might sound like something a bit crazy and woo-woo, but I assure you that it's not, because our voice, the utterance in our voice, how we speak, when we speak, it has power, it has resonance, it's part of consciousness. It's consciousness made relevant. Our mind is one part of consciousness. Our voice is a next tier of power, next tier of tangibility. In consciousness, we can say no to our thoughts. We can also say no to our voice. But once we speak it, once we create a spell with it, it carries through the collective consciousness. It resonates out. The helper of friendship hears that. Sage, can you recommend people in my field that I need to speak to and invite the sage in their presence to seek me out or connect? Yeah, I can do that. And then images of people will appear in your mind. You might not need to know their names. You can just say, hey, this person that's here right now, hey, sage, in the other person's presence, I'd love for you to invite this person to reflect or be open to being in association with me. If that's aligned for you, if that's what the RTCM is speaking to you, or it just feels in your truth, it just feels like your fucking truth, then do it, because it's the common senses in the body that will inform you. And if you're sincere, if you're modest, you won't incur the fate. You just got to be yourself. And this can be really scary for people who have spent so many years in self-abandonment, because this is about restoring who you really are, finding your true self, finding true love through your true self, which is why relationships that are genuine endure genuinely. Genuine relationships endure genuinely. What do I even mean by that? It's because your true selves are connecting. Your true selves are connecting. The egos are not the thing that's connecting so many relationships in the world today. I think we've hit the ceiling. We've hit the ceiling with birth rates dropping, people losing faith in relationship after heartbreak. We don't have a birth rate issue. We have a heartbreak issue. People do not know how to be with heartbreak long enough to learn. Heartbreak is a fate. Heartbreak is a fate. If you don't know how to be with the fate, be with the heartbreak, you will go back out there and meet the same partner with a fresh face, the same pattern, the same person that you didn't get from childhood, the same thing you didn't get from childhood. And you can ask the I Ching for help with this. Show me. In your body, in your heart of hearts, in your association map, do you want to have true love? Do you want to have a person that you can have a true love, enduring relationship with? And if you feel that yes in your body, then there's something that you can do about it. Not do it in a do more therapy sense, but there's something that can be done. But if you're afraid, if you recoil, if you shut down that faculty, well then you'll keep getting the same thing. You'll keep attracting shut down people. Love is the force of attraction. Love is the force of attraction. And, throwing my piece in here, self-hatred on the other side is also a force of attraction. Because when you're not loving yourself from that holistic place, what remains is the self-hatred. So two people who have deep self-hatred for themselves can still come together. And you can either learn the lesson of the heartbreak, of the self-hatred, and realize what's actually going on here, because feelings are at an atomical level, and work it out. Ask your feelings manager, hey feelings manager, can you help me work out my self-hatred, please? I'm really struggling. Hey, feelings manager, can you help me with love? Can you help me with this uncertainty? Can you help me with this anxiety, even though anxiety doesn't exist? Can you help me with these sensations in my body that I keep putting labels on and cursing them and spelling them? Can you help me be with my body? Can you help me be with my desire, my sexuality, my carnality? The part of me that lusts after women. The part of me that wants to be held by a man or be penetrated by a man. Can you help me? Can you show me? Yeah, they can all do this. Okay? Line 4 here. The wall represents the attitude of superiority and self-righteousness that he has gained from studying the wisdom of the world. So this used to be a very masculine man thing. This is now becoming more of a female thing as well now, where more women get educated and they're met with the same walls around their hearts, around their lives, that they know better. And I see this time and time again. Just before somebody wants to step over the threshold of hitting the go button to either working with me, or diving deeper into inner work, there's where's the studies? Who else has done this, John? What do I get out of it? What's your guarantees? Well, a lot of my guarantees right now, I'll coach you till you get the result. But what are the guarantees right now? How do I know this is going to be any different from the 40,000 other courses that I've done? How do I know if I don't sit ayahuasca that I'll have the next epiphany, or Cambo, or 5-MeO, or Iboga, psilocybin, ketamine, cannabis, LSD, Ape? How do I know? How do I know it's not going to be any different? You don't. But that's what crossing the great water is. Crossing the great water is knowing that there is a great water. And you can't take the wall with you over the great water. It's uncertainty. The body needs to learn how to be with uncertainty, letting go of control. Collective ego is all about this fake certainty. Implement this plan and you'll get this result. Implement this plan, you'll get this result. That's not how real life works. So many people know this, that have come from chronic illness, that have come from failed businesses, failed relationships, failed whatever it is. I did the steps, but it didn't work for me. Yeah, that's the collective ego. It might work for some people. It works for just enough people to convince you to have a go. I'll say that again. The collective ego's model is about convincing you to do a thing and allowing other people to succeed just enough so that you have a go too. And then you get swept up in trying to make it work, and then you get blamed when you don't get it right. It's a classic bait and switch. It's very intelligent. It's been used for centuries, and it'll leave you exhausted. It'll leave you with some chronic illness. It'll leave you unfulfilled. It'll leave you trying to force love inside your life instead of allowing life and love to flow through you. And to allow that to flow through you in the context of the I Ching, you just say no to all the things. And sometimes saying no to all those things requires going into the body. Like I recommend body work, body psychotherapy. It's the deep work. It's beyond talk therapy. Sometimes people just need to stop talking and say no to the voice that wants to talk. It's very powerful. Great. Line 2. This line can also refer to a person who, in approaching another to be his partner in love, business, etc., comes to meet him unequally because he is attached to his possessions, entitlements, and authorizations. A successful relationship can only happen when neither one thinks he is better or more entitled. The mere idea of authorizations and entitlements is in conflict with the natural equality that exists, not only between two people, but between all things in the cosmos. So in some of my failed relationships, and I had 11 failed relationships by 2015, was that I thought that because I had more money, or I had done more inner work, that I was somehow entitled to proselytize or preach or tell my partners how to be, what to do, what work to do, how to spend money. I continuously chose women who were slightly poorer than me because that gave me the upper hand of leverage. One of my partners, I remember, like, I was convincing her, yeah, you should just stop trying to make money from that business because it's obviously not going to work, and you should just get a job, do something else, because your lack of money is annoying me because I'm paying for more things. It's annoying that we have to go out somewhere and I'm the one that pays, and then you're still not even grateful that I pay. So this entitlement that she should be grateful, and then this sense of authorization that, well, I'm the moneymaker here. It's what the manosphere says. The man is the moneymaker. He gets to call all the shots. But the woman that I was choosing came from that feminist world where it's like, oh, you're privileged because you're a man. So I was forever fighting with myself in the form of another person until I did the deep work to repattern all that, to stop putting the person who was incorrect for me on my choosing plate, on my menu, which is when you're looking for true love, that's what happens. When you find that, when you remove the obstacles, it's not about looking for something over there, it's about removing the internal obstacles. This is more than just clearing and removing blocks and fixing chakras and doing all that kind of stuff. It's so much more than that. And it doesn't require so much work. It requires presence. It requires listening to the body. It requires saying no to things. And in my work, it takes you deeper into the questions. It's the questions that get the results. How much self-love do you have out of 10? How much are you afraid of being enmeshed and losing your resources in a business? How much are you afraid out of 10 of losing yourself in a relationship? How much out of 10 are you afraid of choosing another person and then just fucking it up again? Or choosing the wrong person again? Or getting heartbroken again? How much out of 10 are you still unresolved from previous heartbreaks? How much out of 10 are you single because you're afraid to be in relation? The number comes. The body knows. The number is helpful to give you the reality check. All right, this is what's going on for you. But in any kind of partnership, if you're approaching it from a state of, I know better, and I've been in business partnerships like this, where I became the submissive little boy. Yeah, you tell me, Daddy. You tell me what I should do, where we should spend our money, what we should do. And that also is sucked into the human design system. He was a manifester. I was a generator. Must listen to manifestors as a generator, right? Those labels that come from systems like human design will keep you trapped. And for those of you who study human design, I've activated your ego there. So, thank you so much for listening to number 13, associating with people. And I'll put the links of the things that I mentioned in here from the Substack, the previous I Ching, and whatever else. I can't remember what I specifically spoke to in this, but I'll put it up in there. And I'll see you in the next one. Mad love. Bye.